Hello, this is I Do Damage and welcome back to the channel. In this Hades video, I want to talk about what is Hades. I want to do a general overview of what the game is, what I like about it, and the things that I think you should know about the game if you're thinking about buying it. Before we start, I want to remind everyone I do stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Hopefully I'll be lucky enough to catch you there sometime. Hades. This game came out December 10th, and I'm a little bit late to the show. I just got gifted this game from one of my viewers. You know who you are. Thank you so much. With that in mind, the game's been out for about 2 weeks in early access, and wow, this game is very impressive. Just so you know, I do have 6 hours played, and that was in one session on stream, and time flew by. It felt like I'd only played for maybe a couple hours, but it had been 6 hours by the time I looked up. Wow. So what is Hades? That's the point of the video here. Hades, in general, is a roguelike game in the sense that when you die, you have to start all over. But there is progression in this game, which I will explain later on in the video, that's permanent and run-based progressions. Pretty much in each run, you can get different currencies, skill upgrades, boons that will help you out in that run. And then when you die, you have to start all over again. I think there's a total of 4 acts that you can work through. But you also have permanent progression to make your character stronger and also unlock new tiles that you can find on each run. So if you've ever played a roguelike before, you're going to feel right at home with this game. The next topic I want to talk about with Hades is the combat. Let me say, wow, the combat is so crunchy, it's so impactful, it feels so nice, man. You can do wall slams. Literally, if you can corner an enemy, it'll even pop up and say cornered, and you can just smack the crap out of them and just go ham, and they take extra damage from the wall slams. Oh, it feels so good. You break their shield, they get stunned. The combat is just so impactful, and I love it. The combat alone is amazing. However, one drawback here, and it's not really that much of a drawback because the combat is such hack and slash fast paced that this doesn't even matter, but there's not a ton of skills. Your skills are going to be dependent on your weapon and your boons that you find during each run. As it is right now, there is 5 specific weapons. Each weapon has its own special. So my favorite one is the shield. That's the one I'm going to talk about for examples. The special for the shield is a shield throw, and it ping-pongs and hits enemies and comes back to you. And also there is your basic attack, obviously your left click, and a charged version of that. So for shield, if I hold down left click, I do bull rush, which is a charge, and I can literally dash into enemies and slam them against the wall. It feels so good. Also, you have a cast, which is your right click. That is a spell, and there's many mechanics that play around this ability as well. Hopefully in a guide video someday I can expand upon more of all of this. And last but not least, you have your dash to get out of harm's way. There seems to be no cooldown on dash, and you can get skills that tie to dash, such as when you dash, you drop a blade storm. Just things like that. It feels really good. So there's not a ton of skills, but the amount of learning and figuring out each weapon type really kind of compensates for that lack of skills. Last part I want to comment on combat, and this is by far my favorite part, is the use of the environment and your surroundings. Like I told you about the wall slams, getting them cornered, you can also smack them into a spike trap and get them killed from the spikes. The combat is just amazing. I'd have to give the combat a 9 out of 10. On to another important and kind of lacking aspect of Hades in my opinion. And the reason I'm going a little bit hard on this game is because it's so good that I feel that I do need to be somewhat critical. And this topic's going to be world. As it is right now in early access, I think I heard there's 4 biomes. At the time of recording this video, I have only seen 3 biomes, and I know that there's still more to come, so that makes me think that there's at least 4. And pretty much the way that the world is set up, you go through and you have mini bosses and story bosses that are going to be the same pretty much every time. No spoilers, but pretty much every time you're going to see the same bosses. And while you're going out through each run, you go into a room, you kill all the mobs, you get your reward, and then you look to make sure there's a store or maybe other events that you can unlock throughout the game. We'll get onto that later. And then usually you have options, 2 to 3 options of which room to go to next, and there'll be an icon telling you which reward you can expect to receive from that room. Whether it be darkness for your permanent progression, or gold to help you out later on, and maybe a storefront that you can come across, health upgrades, skill upgrades. And most of the boons and skill upgrades are related to the specific god. So for example, Zeus. His is a lightning bolt, obviously. Things like that, so you can tell by the icon which type of skills you would be getting from that said room. So it's pretty cool that you have to make decisions, and it's all random, other than the story bosses that I mentioned. Aside from other rooms that you can go into, also sometimes you can find these little, it kind of reminds me of like Ninja Turtles. It's like a little, it looks like a sewer thing with black, I think it's called a Chaos Rift or something like that. But you can sacrifice some of your health and go down in there and get a really powerful buff that you have to make a sacrifice. So for one that I can remember off the top of my head was, for the next 4 runs, each time that I used my special, I would lose 5 life. But at the end of those 4 encounters, that would then be gone, and I would do an increased 50% damage across the board. That's pretty rewarding, seeing as how your special is not really required to use. So it's crazy. There's really a lot to this game, and that's why I'm making this video. The last part that I really want to talk about in this video that I think you should know, that will hopefully help you decide if you want to get this game or not, and this is progression. Progression in Hades is huge. I must say this is probably the most important mechanic outside of combat, just to bring the overall feel of the game and a sense of something that you're working towards constantly. Progression in Hades comes in 2 different forms. You have run-based progression that you have for that run, and when you die on that run, you're going to lose all of that progress. But you also have permanent progression. So first of all, let's talk about run-based progression, and you should probably know most of it by now. Just in case, in your run, you can come across boons, which are buffs. You can get skill upgrades that change the way specific skills work, such as your dash ability that I mentioned with the Blade Storm. You can get one where your cast ability becomes a big AoE lob, poison lob. You can get one that makes you do poison damage each time you hit an enemy. There's a lot here. Aside from boons, you have gold that you can then use in stores to buy different things. You can buy darkness, which is for your permanent progression path. Or you can use that gold to instead maybe increase your health, or heal up a little bit if you're low on life, or refill your last stand ability. That's a whole nother mechanic. The in-run progression is nice so that if you want to do a push run and try to get as far as you can in the story and maybe actually make it to the top of Mount Olympus, you can focus that. Otherwise, if you want to tunnel a specific run into maybe your permanent progression and farm up some darkness, you can do that as well. So let's talk about permanent progression. And this is huge in Hades. There's quite a bit here. After 6 hours, I got and found out there's a whole nother thing that I could unlock. It's pretty crazy. Permanent progression comes in primarily gems, darkness, and keys. The darkness and keys you can use to actually upgrade your character and give you so you have more health every single run. You start with more gold as one of them. You do more damage from behind. There's a whole list. You can level them up, upgrade them, max them out. The keys are going to be used to unlock the later on ones, and then the darkness is then used to improve each of these skills or buffs. What's really cool is the darkness. Let's say I have 2 skills that I really want both, but I can really only afford the one. But that one's maybe not as good as the other one, but I can just afford it for now. So if I pump all my darkness into that skill and max it out, when I have a little bit more darkness later on to upgrade the second skill, I can take all the darkness from that first skill, just de-level it, and get all my darkness that I spent back and just funnel it into that second skill. So that's really cool to be able to switch it up on the fly and make adjustments right there without any sacrifice. Another form of permanent progression in this game is from the currency Nectar. Nectar is a gift that you can give to NPCs in the world. And once you unlock the codex, you can find out your level with each of these NPCs and when you're going to get a keepsake or a gift from them. These keepsakes are pretty cool. They can also be leveled up by just playing the game. You can only have one keepsake equipped, but they are a game changer, and this is probably one of the hardest decisions in the game is to decide which keepsake to take with you. There's ones that give you an extra life, there's ones that give you more base health, there's even one that whenever you find darkness, it heals you for a certain amount of the darkness found. There's a lot. It looks like there's over a dozen different keepsakes that you can find and level up. So, like I said, after 6 hours, I was pretty impressed with everything, and then I found out there's yet another progression path. Yet it's a little bit minor, but it's still pretty impressive to see. And these are weapon upgrades. These seem to be a lot harder to unlock since the currency seems to only come from bosses, but you can actually upgrade your weapon. So for my shield, I can do my shield throw, my special ability where it ping pongs around enemies. I can unlock a variant where it does multiple shields per point. So I can have a set. I don't know what the max level is yet because I haven't got that far. But, you know, I could do shield throw and have 5 little mini shields ping-ponging around. And, it's just crazy, man. Each weapon has its own upgrade path. And, wow. Like I said, the permanent progression is probably the biggest part of this game to me personally. So now that you know all of this, let's go ahead and wrap it up and talk about my final thoughts on Hades. The game is roguelike, which usually is not my top pick for a game. However, the combat in this game is insane. It's so impactful, it feels so nice. It just really brings it all together. The world would be nice to see it expanded upon a little bit more, but it's early access. They're going to add more story. They're going to add more champions. They're going to add more weapons. There's a lot coming down the pipeline. I just can't wait. It's an early access game, and it's so smooth and so good. This game seriously deserves the rave reviews that you see on Steam. I can't think of one super negative reason to tell you to not buy this game. This game is almost perfect. The biggest drawback for me on this game is how repetitive it can be, and that's just the genre in general, right? So I'm really not complaining. I would like to see more randomness to the biomes, but it's okay. I'm still having fun. The combat and the randomness of the boons that you can come across and bonuses feels nice. The number one thing I would like to see added to Hades is multiplayer, a drop-in, drop-out type of multiplayer. I think would be really cool. Or even just leaderboards so that I can know how I stand against other people. Overall, I gotta say, the game is easily a 9 out of 10 for me. It's great, guys. It's an early access game and it's this good. If you haven't yet, check out Hades. I seriously think you should pick it up. I hope this video helped you guys out. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe. Ring that bell to get notified when I post a new video every Monday and Friday. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.